Jasmine thought she had everyone fooled. But the facade is crumbling, and what lies beneath has fans gasping for air. In a twist nobody saw coming, Jasmine is now at the center of a firestorm so intense, it's tearing through her world like a tornado with no mercy. From secret text messages to suspicious late-night disappearances, the whispers have turned into screams. And now, the biggest question on everyone's mind, will Kirk finally walk away for good? Or is Jasmine ready to unleash her most manipulative move yet? It all began with what seemed like an innocent party until Kirk noticed something that didn't add up. A side glance, a smirk, a suspiciously long bathroom break. And just like that, everything spiraled. Jasmine's behavior has gone from questionable to downright incriminating. Sources close to the family claim she's been playing along and it may involve more than just one betrayal. But Kirk, usually calm and collected, isn't staying silent this time. Not when the woman he trusted with his heart might have just stabbed it with a smile. Tensions are exploding behind closed doors. Emotions are boiling over in front of cameras. Family members are choosing sides, and fans are stunned by the bombshells being dropped one after another. As Jasmine scrambles to spin the narrative, the real story is slipping through her fingers, and Kirk is no longer playing by her rules. Could this be the final straw in a relationship already scarred by past betrayals? Or will Jasmine once again twist the script in her favor? Stay right here as we unpack the full scandal in all its jaw-dropping, table-shaking glory. Because when it comes to Jasmine, one thing is always true. Just when you think she's down, she's already setting the next trap. Buckle up because this ride is about to get dirty. It started with a whisperer, harmless flicker of doubt that Kirk brushed off more than once. But that whisper turned into a roar when the patterns became impossible to ignore. Jasmine wasn't just acting distant. She was strategic, careful, almost too composed. The soft smiles she reserved only for Kirk were now flashing in the direction of other men. Especially one who had recently joined their circle. Deshaun, Kirk's childhood friend turned business associate. Kirk had trusted him with deals, with family introductions, and now, unknowingly, with the woman he still called his ride or die. The first real crack showed up at a recording studio launch party. Jasmine arrived late, stunning, as always, but with a phone that never left her hand. She smiled wide, posed for photos, but her eyes, they scanned the room with intensity, as if she was waiting for someone specific to show up. And when Deshaun arrived, she lit up like fireworks in July. Kirk saw it. So did Rashida, who leaned into Kirk and whispered, "You seeing what I'm seeing?" He wanted to dismiss it. Wanted to trust Jasmine like he always did. But trust had cost him before, and it looked like history was hungry for an encore. Later that night, Kirk noticed Jasmine sneaking off to the back patio. He followed, keeping his distance, only to find her and Deshaun standing a little too close, talking a little too softly. When they both turned around and spotted him, the energy shifted. Jasmine laughed awkwardly, brushing her hair behind her ear, and muttered, "We were just talking about the next event." Deshaun nodded, but he couldn't hold Kirk's gaze. Kirk didn't say a word. He simply turned around and walked back inside, fists clenched, heart thudding. That night, silence flooded their bedroom. Jasmine scrolled on her phone for hours, her screen tilted away from Kirk. When he finally broke the silence, asking, "You got something to say?" she just replied, "About what?" The room turned ice cold and a storm began to brew quietly, dangerously, beneath the surface. Days passed, but the tension didn't. Jasmine became colder, distant, almost mechanical. Kirk, on the other hand, turned paranoid. He began checking her social media posts, scrutinizing her captions, zooming in on the reflections in her sunglasses. And then it happened. A fan page tagged Jasmine in a photo taken outside a high-end hotel in Midtown. She wasn't alone, Deshaun was with her. The post read, "Jasmine out here making business moves." But it wasn't the caption that wrecked Kirk. It was Jasmine's hand resting on Deshaun's chest, not in a friendly way, not in a business way, in a way that said, "I trust you with everything." Kirk didn't confront her that night. He needed more. He needed proof. So he did something he promised himself he'd never do again. He followed her. The next Thursday, Jasmine told him she was going to a spa with her cousin for a self-care day, but when Kirk drove by that spa, there was no Jasmine in sight. 2 hours later, she showed up at a rooftop restaurant again with Deshaun. She wore a silk dress, heels that matched his shirt, and eyes that sparkled with secrets. Kirk sat across the street in his car, watching it all unfold like a movie he never bought tickets to. She laughed, leaned in, touched his arm again and again. Kirk's phone shook in his hand as he took photos. He wasn't going to ask questions anymore. He was going to expose. That night, Kirk didn't go home. He went to Rashida's, sat in her living room with a bottle of whiskey and a folder full of printed screenshots. She read each one slowly, jaw tightening, fury burning behind her eyes. "You need to end it," she said plainly. "She playing you like a damn piano." But Kirk wasn't ready, not yet. He wanted to know why. What did Deshawn have that he didn't? Was it just excitement? Money? Power? Or had Jasmine truly fallen out of love with him? These questions haunted him so deeply he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, imagining every conversation they'd had in the last 3 months. Every lie, every excuse, every year, being paranoid that suddenly felt like a slap. The next morning, Jasmine came home as if nothing happened. She kissed Kirk on the cheek, told him she had a spa glow, and headed upstairs humming to herself. Kirk stared at her retreating figure, bile rising in his throat. He followed her up, stood in the doorway, and said, "I saw you." Jasmine froze. "Saw me what?" she asked, voice to calm. "At the rooftop, with Deshawn." Her face went pale, then dark. "You followed me?" she asked, deflecting instead of denying. "You lied," Kirk snapped. "You lied about everything." But Jasmine didn't crumble. She didn't apologize. She stepped closer, narrowed her eyes, and said, "And what if I did? What are you gonna do, Kirk? Divorce me?" Again. That was the moment he realized something terrifying. Jasmine wasn't sorry. She wasn't scared. She was in control. What happened next shocked even Kirk. Jasmine began spinning the narrative like a master manipulator. She told mutual friends that he was the one acting crazy, that he was jealous and possessive, and probably cheating himself. Screenshots leaked, ones Jasmine had carefully taken over weeks, showing Kirk angry, distant, or messaging old flings in completely misleading ways. Suddenly, Jasmine was playing victim. Fans started turning. Blogs picked it up. Kirk gaslighting Jasmine again. One headline read, "The family was left divided." Some sided with Kirk, knowing his loyalty. Others bought into Jasmine's emotional performances. Rashida called a family meeting, but Jasmine refused to attend. "Tell em, I'm tired of being dragged through the mud," she told Kirk. "If they want to talk, they can talk to my lawyer." Lawyer. That word hit Kirk like a hammer. Was Jasmine preparing for war? Was she setting him up for a nasty public fallout? The betrayal wasn't just romantic, now it was strategic. This wasn't about Deshawn anymore. It was about control, about dominance, about winning. And Kirk. He was caught in the middle of a game he didn't even know he'd been playing. As the days passed, Jasmine moved into the guest room, changed her phone passcode, and started packing away sentimental things from their shared bedroom. She was making silent declarations, one drawer at a time. But the most chilling part, she never cried. Never once broke down. She smiled. And then came the final straw of part 1. Jasmine posted a cryptic real soft R&B in the background. A slow-motion clip of her walking away from the camera with the caption, "Sometimes you gotta let a man destroy himself." The internet exploded. Fans were shocked. Was she talking about Kirk? Was this a breakup? Was she hinting that he was the villain all along? Kirk saw it, hands trembling, as his phone lit up with notifications. Messages from friends, producers, even his own daughter. "What's going on, Dad?" the text read. But he had no answer. Because Jasmine wasn't just cheating. She was rewriting the narrative in real time. And the next move she made would change everything. Kirk couldn't believe the audacity. Jasmine had turned the tables so fast, so masterfully, that even people who once had his back were now giving him side eyes. She hadn't just walked away from the relationship, she was dragging his name through the mud on her way out. Heels high, head higher. And while Kirk was still reeling from the shock, Jasmine was already 2 steps ahead. She started showing up at events alone, wearing outfits that screamed single and unbothered, flashing polished smiles to the cameras and slipping cryptic quotes into her captions. "Healing looks good on me." "You can't break a woman who knows her worth." Every line felt like a dagger aimed at Kirk's chest. But it wasn't just the captions, it was who started appearing beside her in those posts. Deshawn, always in the background. Always watching. Kirk wanted to go public. He wanted to post the screenshots, the videos, the receipts. But Rashida stopped him. "That's exactly what she wants," she warned. "She's playing a long game. Don't stoop to her level. But Kirk was boiling, because while he stayed quiet, Jasmine was feeding the world a fairy tale flipped on its head. Suddenly, she was the woman reclaiming her power, while he was the emotionally manipulative ex, holding her back. And then came the ultimate insult. Jasmine's exclusive sit-down interview with a rising podcast host known for her healing and heartbreak series. The teaser alone set the internet ablaze. I was made to feel like I was crazy. But all I ever wanted was peace. Cue dramatic piano music, slow zoom on Jasmine's glassy eyes, and fade to black. Kirk watched the full interview that night in complete silence. Jasmine painted a vivid picture. A woman gaslit, ignored, emotionally starved. She cried on cue, talked about losing herself in a marriage that no longer saw her, and even hinted that there had been controlling behavior she wasn't ready to fully speak on for legal reasons. Kirk felt like he'd been slapped in the face. None of it was true, or at least not the way she made it seem. He had flaws, sure. But this was character assassination dressed in Chanel. And the worst part, people were eating it up. Comments flooded in. "We love you, Jasmine. You're so strong. Leave that toxicity behind, sis." But behind the scenes, Kirk was unraveling. Not just emotionally, professionally too. Brands he had worked with were pulling back, citing concerns over current media buzz. Deals were freezing. Invitations, 2 panels were quietly rescinded. He was becoming radioactive by association. All while Jasmine thrived. She launched a skincare line, partnered with a mental health app, and announced a speaking tour for women dealing with toxic love. She wasn't just surviving, she was cashing in. The betrayal wasn't just intimate anymore, it was economic. Kirk was watching the empire he helped her build be used as a weapon against him. It was during one of those low moments that Kirk got a visit he didn't expect. He showed up unannounced, casual as ever, wearing designer sneakers and that same smug smile, Kirk now associated with heartbreak. "Can we talk?" he asked. Kirk didn't punch him, though God knows he wanted to. He let him in. What Deshawn said next rewrote everything. "You think this was about you?" he asked, voice low. Jasmine been planning her exit since last year. "I just gave her the excuse she needed." Kirk's blood ran cold. Deshawn continued. "She told me y'all were already over emotionally. I just filled the space." And then, just before walking out, he added, "She's not who you think she is, bro. She's 10 moves ahead, and she always has been." That night, Kirk went through old emails, messages, even PR timelines, and sure enough, the signs were there. Jasmine had filed trademark paperwork for her solo ventures months before the drama ever began. She had secured a crisis PR team, booked interviews, had strategy meetings with brand experts. She hadn't stumbled into independence, she had engineered it. Every argument, every cold shoulder, every suspicious smile had been a step in a staircase leading to one thing: freedom on her terms. And Kirk, he was just collateral damage. The next family dinner was a battlefield. Jasmine showed up late, glowing, wearing a sleek red dress and sunglasses indoors. Everyone else sat quiet, unsure which side they were allowed to be on. Rashida cleared her throat and said, "We're here to figure this out like adults." Jasmine scoffed. "There's nothing to figure out," she said, twirling her wine glass. "I've moved on." Maybe Kirk should too. That set him off. "Moved on? You burned the house down on your way out, Jasmine," he shouted. She didn't even flinch. "Then maybe you should have built one that could handle a little fire." The room erupted, cousins arguing, aunts clutching pearls, Rashida yelling over the noise. But through it all, Jasmine remained calm. She didn't defend herself. She didn't cry. She just stood, adjusted her sunglasses, and walked out. The door closed softly behind her, but the damage echoed like a gunshot. Kirk sat there, broken, watching the woman he once loved become someone he no longer recognized. And the worst part, he still wasn't sure whether she had changed, or if she'd always been this person, hiding behind charm and cheekbones. Over the next week, Kirk tried to rebuild. He reached out to a publicist, considered doing an interview of his own. But every time he tried to speak up, Jasmine was already ahead of him. She announced a documentary, her side of the story. Trailers teased unseen footage. Voice notes, even alleged DMs from Kirk that painted him as manipulative and insecure. "Sometimes the truth isn't pretty," the narrator said. "But it needs to be heard." Fans were frothing at the mouth. Pre-orders for her skincare line tripled overnight. Her followers jumped by 100,000. She had turned heartbreak into a brand and Kirk was the logo for everything she'd overcome. But not everyone bought it. A leaked clip from the documentary showed Jasmine rehearsing her crying scene multiple times. In another, she whispered to her producer, "Make sure the lighting hits my cheekbones when I look down." Slowly, cracks started to show. A former friend of hers went live and said, "Jasmine's not a victim, she's an actress." More people began digging. Her timeline didn't add up. Dates she claimed to be healing overlapped with receipts from luxury vacations with Deshawn. The internet started buzzing again, this time with doubt. And Kirk, he watched quietly, waited, let her overplay her hand. Because the truth has a way of rising even when it's buried under layers of lip gloss and filters. But what neither of them expected was the next twist. Because someone else had been watching this entire time. Someone with the power to destroy both of them. And as Jasmine celebrated her latest milestone, toasting champagne on Instagram Live, she had no idea that her biggest scandal was still loading. The real storm was just beginning. The next twist didn't come from Kirk. It didn't come from Rashida. It didn't even come from Deshawn. It came from someone Jasmine never expected: Monica, her ex-best friend turned silent observer. For months, Monica had watched Jasmine's rise with a mixture of awe and disgust. She knew Jasmine's game better than anyone. They'd built empires side by side, laughed over scripts for public sympathy, and even brainstormed captions for Jasmine's most vulnerable posts. But when Jasmine cut her off without warning, without reason, it lit a fuse Monica had been holding back for too long. And now, she was ready to detonate. It began with a single Instagram story. A black screen. White text. "You want the truth? I've got hours of it." The internet froze. Within 10 minutes, her DMs exploded. Monica didn't stop there. She followed it up with a TikTok casual.com, "Dangerous. I ain't trying to start drama, but I think people deserve to know who Jasmine really is." And then the floodgates opened. Voice recordings, screenshots, behind-the-scenes clips. One recording had Jasmine rehearsing tears before her podcast interview. Another captured her mocking Kirk's emotional breakdown after discovering her lie. "He looked like a lost puppy." Jasmine laughed. "I almost felt bad. Almost." Kirk listened to it in horror, mouth dry, hands shaking. The world had been gaslit. He knew it, but now, they would know it too. The receipts were undeniable. Jasmine had staged almost every piece of her public comeback. The podcast tears. Fake the skincare brand, based on stolen formulas from a small black-owned startup she had collaborated with, and ghosted the narrative. A beautifully scripted lie. And Monica, she wasn't holding back. In a live stream that peaked at nearly 500,000 viewers, Monica laid it bare. "Jasmine ain't a survivor. She's a strategist. Y'all out here cheering for a villain in heels." It was a moment of sweet vindication for Kirk, but it didn't last long. Because Jasmine, she pivoted faster than anyone thought possible. Less than 24 hours later, she posted a tearful video from her bedroom floor. No makeup, no edits. Just raw emotion, or so it seemed. "I trusted the wrong people," she sobbed. "People who were supposed to be my sisters, and now they're trying to destroy everything I built." Fans were torn. Some saw through it, others ate it up. "She's hurting, let her live. Monica's just jealous." But Kirk wasn't swayed. He'd been silent too long, and now it was his turn to speak. He didn't go to a blog. He didn't drop a teaser. He went live. Alone. No glitz. Just him, a plain background, and truth. "I ain't perfect," he began, voice steady, "but I never deserved to be dragged like this. Y'all watched a performance. I lived the pain." For 30 minutes, Kirk laid it all out. The lies, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the humiliation. He even showed receipts Monica hadn't. Texts from Jasmine's phone to Deshawn mocking his music career, calling Kirk Plan B in case her new man didn't work out. The comments section turned into a war zone. "Jasmine, we believed in you. This is sick. How you gonna play victim and villain?" By morning, Jasmine had lost 2 sponsorships. A third issued a statement: "We take allegations of manipulation and dishonesty seriously." Her skincare line's page was flooded with snake emojis, but Jasmine didn't disappear. She doubled down. She posted cryptic quotes again. She went quiet for hours, only to re-emerge in a black lace dress, walking hand in hand with Deshawn into a private fashion event. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Jasmine only smirked. But the smirk cracked just slightly when someone yelled, "How's Kirk doing?" For the first time, she looked shaken. The media began shifting. Articles flipped. Headlines now read, "Jasmine's empire on the edge." And new receipts show Jasmine orchestrated entire narrative. But even with the tide turning, Kirk wasn't celebrating. Because behind the drama, something darker lingered. His reputation had taken a hit he might never fully recover from. His kids were dragged into online debates. His mental health fractured, and Jasmine. She still held the power of perception. Because in the world of celebrity, truth doesn't always win, optics do. Rashida tried to get him out of the house. "Let's clear your head," she offered. "Get you back in the studio, reclaim your story." But Kirk wasn't ready. His trust had been shattered. Not just in Jasmine but in people. In fans, in love. He sat in silence most nights, replaying everything. How did it go so wrong? Had Jasmine ever loved him? Or was it all a ladder to something higher? Fame, money, control. Then, another twist, Jasmine's ex came forward. Not to a man from her past who claimed he, too, was used, manipulated. "She studied me," he said in a video interview. "Learned my weaknesses, then turned them into weapons." He had texts, voicemails, a pattern. Jasmine wasn't new to this, she was trained in it. The footage went viral. A psychologist even weighed in. What we're seeing here may align with narcissistic abuse cycles. Suddenly, Jasmine wasn't just losing fans, she was losing her image. The cracks were no longer private. They were public and growing. But Jasmine didn't fade. She turned to religion. Started quoting scripture. Talking about God's plan. Rebranding again, this time as a woman healing from everyone else's toxicity. She posted prayers, photos from churches, even baptism videos. The move split her followers once again. Some praised her, others rolled their eyes. But Kirk saw it for what it was, another act. Another escape hatch. And just when he thought she couldn't go lower, she hit him with the final papers. She was suing him for defamation, emotional distress, and cyber harassment. The man she betrayed was now being painted as her abuser. Kirk broke. He cried for the first time in front of his kids. He called his mom and couldn't speak. He showed up at Rashida's at 3 a.m. just to sit on her porch. "She's gonna destroy me," he whispered. "And I don't even know why anymore." Rashida wrapped him in silence. She knew. Jasmine wasn't seeking justice. She was seeking dominance, control, final say. But Rashida had one idea left. "Then let's give her what she can't script," she said. "The truth. From everyone." And that's when Kirk knew this wasn't over. Jasmine might have played every card, but she forgot one thing. Eventually, lies collapse under their own weight. And the truth, it rises, no matter how deep you bury it. The final battle was coming. Not just for revenge but for redemption. Because Kirk wasn't going down as the villain in Jasmine's story. Not when he was finally ready to tell his own. The court summons sat on Kirk's kitchen counter like a loaded weapon, taunting, cold, and impossible to ignore. Jasmine had made it official. She wasn't just out to ruin his name in the media. She wanted him legally silenced. And for what? For fighting back. For showing the world the truth she tried to hide under hashtags and fake tears. But Kirk wasn't the same man she left months ago. He had been humiliated, yes, betrayed, definitely, but broken, not anymore. Because now, he had something Jasmine didn't, a movement behind him. In the weeks following the explosion of Monica's truth bombs and the public shift in sympathy, people began coming forward. Stylists, assistants, former friends, even a brand partner, shared eerily similar stories. Jasmine controlled everything. From lighting angles to apology drafts, every breakdown was timed. Every candid photo had been staged. Each quote she dropped was carefully curated to create a version of her that was untouchable, delicate, innocent. But now, the image was cracking like a mirror slammed against concrete, and Kirk finally saw his opening. Rashida took the reins. She coordinated a full-scale media response, not to attack Jasmine, but to tell Kirk's story. "We're not playing dirty," she told him. "We're just bringing receipts to the table. Let the world decide." And they did. A special video podcast aired a week later, unfiltered. The Kirk Frost story. It wasn't flashy. It didn't need to be. The emotions were raw. Kirk shared journal entries, therapy notes, and heartbreaking voicemails from nights Jasmine had left him alone, spiraling in confusion. But the most damning evidence? A video taken by his daughter, unbeknownst to Jasmine, of one of Jasmine's coldest moments. In it, Jasmine mocked Kirk's depression, laughing with Deshawn on speakerphone. "He's in his feelings again. Should I send him a tissue emoji?" The video broke the internet. It shattered any illusion of Jasmine's innocence. Even her most loyal fans started to unfollow. Comments turned brutal. "We defended this. She's a monster. Kirk, we owe you an apology." The backlash was swift and savage. Jasmine tried damage control. She claimed the video was edited, that it was taken out of context. But context didn't matter anymore. The truth had finally hit the light, and no amount of lipstick or lighting could blur it. Still, Jasmine refused to back down. She showed up at the courthouse in a designer suit, flanked by her PR team, chin high, eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses. The paparazzi swarmed. But this time, the energy was different. No cheers, no "you go girl," just silent clicks. Kirk walked in alone. No entourage, no dramatics. Just a folder of truth, a quiet confidence, and a prayer in his pocket. Inside the courtroom, it became immediately clear, Jasmine's legal team wasn't ready. Their evidence was flimsy, their narrative inconsistent. Kirk, on the other hand, had months' worth of documentation, therapist statements, witnesses, and when Monica was called in to testify, she didn't hold back. She told me, and I quote, "I'm going to make Kirk beg for mercy on social media. Watch me." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. But the final blow came from Deshawn Yesim. In a shocking twist, he switched sides. Tired of being her pawn, tired of being used and discarded just like Kirk had been, Deshawn submitted a written affidavit. "Jasmine manipulated both of us. She played games for power. I see it now." The lawsuit crumbled. Jasmine left the courtroom without speaking to the press. That night, she deactivated her Instagram. Her skincare brand's website redirected to a 404 error. Sponsorships vanished. Speaking engagements canceled. In less than 48 hours, Jasmine Frosty, once celebrated face of resilience, had become a cautionary tale of ego, exploitation, and emotional warfare. But for Kirk, the victory wasn't sweet, it was bittersweet. He had cleared his name, but at what cost? His heart was still battered. His trust still fractured. His kids were still healing from the fallout. And somewhere inside him, there was still the ghost of a man who once loved Jasmine with everything he had. In the days that followed, Kirk took a social media break. He focused on therapy, on music, on rebuilding relationships damaged by the storm Jasmine brought. Rashida remained his rock. His daughter started smiling again. The public slowly began to root for him, not as a victim, but as a survivor. A man who had every reason to stay silent, but chose instead to stand up. And Jasmine, she went quiet. Rumors swirled she moved out of the city. She was rebranding again. But this time, no one cared. The world had seen behind the curtain. The performance was over. The audience had left the theater. In one final twist, a private message from Jasmine leaked sent to a close friend. "I didn't think he'd fight back. But he did. And he won." Kirk didn't win just a legal battle. He won himself back. The game was over. And Jasmine, she played dirty. But he walked away clean. So there you have it, the rise, the manipulation, the unraveling, and the ultimate reckoning. Jasmine, once seen as the victim of a toxic relationship, has now been fully exposed for the mastermind she truly was. From carefully crafted social media plays to a full-blown legal war, she orchestrated a storyline that fooled millions. But in the end, her own game turned on her. The lies collapsed. The truth screamed louder. And Kirk, the man once painted as the villain, walked away not only vindicated but victorious. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a battlefield. A war of reputations, a psychological chess match that left no one untouched. Families were divided, fans were misled, and hearts were broken. But what remains now is a story, a warning. Really about what happens when someone turns love into a performance and uses pain as a profit model. Kirk stood up not just for himself, but for every person who's ever been manipulated behind closed doors and silenced in public. And Jasmine, well, she may try to rebrand, she may try to rewrite, but the receipts are out, and this time, there's no erasing them. But what do you think? Was Jasmine always this calculated, or did fame and power change her? Can Kirk truly move on, or will the scars of this drama haunt him forever? And if Jasmine comes back with a new apology tour, will you believe her? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, we're reading everything. Don't forget to like this video if you were shocked by Jasmine's downfall, and subscribe so you never miss another explosive update. Because in the world of fame and secrets, the truth always comes out. Stay tuned, stay curious, and remember loyalty might be silent, but betrayal, that always makes a sound.